Jacquie Engel is a Pennsylvania-based actor, singer, musician, educator, and director. In her own words, my love affair with theater began in high school, and I got involved with my local community theater shortly after graduating. I stayed involved as performer, music director, administrator, and eventually artistic director for more than 28 years. During that time, I got a music degree and started directing and music directing in high schools, regional summer stock theaters, colleges, and other local theater. All in all, 170 productions to date. I created a very successful theater education program at Community Theater League of Williamsport and founded ACT UP, a collaboration with the Community Arts Center in Williamsport. This eventually led to the creation of the Ray of Light Awards for Excellence in High School Theater, a televised year-long theater adjudication program in north central Pennsylvania. In 2017, I went back to college for a bachelor's in arts management and a master's in arts administration while teaching voice and piano with the prestigious Uptown Music Collective in Williamsport. In February 2020, I relocated to take a position as the executive director of the Walk-In Arts Center in Schuylkill Haven. My favorite productions to date are Avenue Q, I Love You, You're Perfect Now Change, Run for Your Wife, West Side Story, and Les Miserables. She can be found on Instagram at Jacquie141, that's JAKKI141, or at the website of the Walk-In Arts Center, walkinartscenter.org. And you can also find YouTube clips of some of her shows, including West Side Story and Les Miserables.
How are you doing?
I'm well, how are you?
I'm good. You're very bushy today.
I'm growing it out. I've never had a beard this long. I'm at that phase now where I go, okay, do I clip it and manicure it so it looks nice, or do I become a cowboy and lose my upper lip entirely?
No, don't do that.
I'm letting it do its thing for now. You look pretty much the same, though.
Yeah, I haven't changed.
Yeah,
I've looked the same for the last 20-some years, so it's fine.
so.
Right. I can't get my dog to not yip at me every now and then.
Can I see your dog again? It's been a while. Can you lift him up?
Yeah.
Hello? Hi, puppy. Hello.
Wearing his UK all the time.
Yeah. Used to be my buddy for movie nights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like we're down here in no man's land now. We lost all his buddies.
I met you while I was in Williamsport.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we formally met at any point until working together.
I don't think so. I think it was in Spam-A-Lot. We worked pretty closely there and a few other shows after that. So, yeah.
I was familiar with you as anyone in the arts in Williamsport. I had various actor friends that would talk about, like, oh, I hate working with Jacquie. Because you were so, in their words, you were so hard on them, I believe. And you
say that?
What?
People really say that?
They did. I don't remember who the people were, but that was.
A lot of times I get that from people who have actually not worked with me, and then when they actually work with me, they change their tune. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So there were a lot of people like, Jacquie, blah blah blah, and then there was a reputation at CTL at that time, right before I was cast in Spam-A-Lot. This was the predominant thing, even among people that still did work with Community Theater League, was that, what's the phrasing? I forget. But it was kind of a club, and like if you didn't know somebody, you weren't going to get cast in a show. They had the same clique of people and mostly all the shows. People that were doing shows at CTL at that time, they validated that. They said, yeah, that's pretty much true. And then your involvement with Spam-A-Lot seemed to be what kind of like forced that closed door open, because you cast so many of us who had never been involved with Community Theater League at the time. And you were honestly like a huge part of the reason why many of us wanted to be involved in the first place. Of course, Spam-A-Lot, because we were Monty Python fans, comedy, farce, love to sing and act. But, you were choosing to do this, and you were choosing to break that stereotype of CTL being a closed door. Mm. So to backtrack a little bit, share, if you would, where did you grow up? What were your influences? How did you become an artist?
Okay, well, I grew up in Williamsport. I went to the Loyalsock Township high school. Probably the strongest influence on me musically was my my choir director at that time, Tom Schellenberger. He was actually involved with CTL when CTL first started. He was actually very involved, did a lot of shows there throughout the late 70s, early 80s. He actually got me involved shortly after high school. He was music directing a show and he needed an accompanist. So I was 19 years old. I had seen one show at CTL prior to that. I was 19 years old and I was supposed to be the accompanist for 1776. And as it turned out, I ended up breaking 3 fingers right before the show and we had to get somebody else to do it. But I ended up playing keyboard bass. And then they were doing a show right after that. Godspell was the first show I actually played, the first whole show on piano. Someone said, "Oh yeah, that heavy girl, she's supposed to be pretty good, so let's call her up." And that's kind of how it all started. I mean, I did high school theater and stuff with Mr. Schellenberger first. But then when I got involved with CTL, it's sort of like once it kind of bites you, it never really lets go. The whole what you were talking about, that whole clique idea is prevalent, I think, in every single theater, in every stage of that theater. I would say back at the time when I first started, there were obviously cliques and things come and go. And there's always a rotation of people in that theater. You know, like they get really involved when they finish high school or college. They get involved and they do like a ton of shows for a while, and then they get married and they have kids. They disappear for a while. The kids get old enough to be left alone. They come back. So there's always that feeling of cliques. I think that sometimes that definition often does come from people who feel somewhat disgruntled, like they didn't get the part they thought they should have. Oh, well, they only hire their friends or they only cast their friends. I did always used to try to fight that. I mean, the whole time that I was at CTL, and especially when I became artistic director, I was the artistic director of musicals and children's plays for a long time before I became the full artistic director of everything. And it was always a thing when people would come and audition and you would want to get as many people involved as possible. Inevitably, somebody's not going to get a part and they're going to feel like they've been, blackballed or something like that. And it's never intentional. I mean, when you're in a community theater, you have multiple directors, and directors often feel more comfortable working with people that they might know. So even sometimes as artistic director, I would really disagree with a casting choice because I would want to get the new person involved who was really great. But the director's like, oh, I really feel like I should be with this person. So you're always going to fight those kind of things. But anyway, and when I was in high school, I was a musician, flute player, piano player. I was going to go to school for music at that time. I ended up having a crisis my senior year in high school, and I was like, I don't want to be one of those music nerds. So I didn't go to school for music right away. I went for secondary math. And quickly figured out that's not what I wanted to do either. It took a lot of time off. And I went back to college at age of 28 to get my music degree, mostly because I was doing theater so much. I was doing a lot of community theater, and through that, I got some jobs being music director at a few high schools. And then it was like, oh yeah, this is what I want to do. Like, I love working with young people. I love working with like high school age especially. So that was sort of the impetus for me to go back to school. So I went back to school for music. During that time, CTL was actually hiring staff because they moved into a new space. So someone said, oh yeah, that Jackie girl knows how to do that computer stuff. This was like late 90s or early 2000s. So while I was in college, I just kind of went over to CTL to help get things sort of on track in the new building and everything. And my position just sort of grew. So I ended up not using my music degree so much. Theater started taking over. I started directing and music directing and things, and theater became my main focus. And since I was still in school, then I ended up taking some theater classes in school. So I got a really pretty rounded theater/music education then. And then I stayed at CTL for a long time. All that time, I was also working in Millbrook Playhouse for 4 summers. So I would literally take my vacation time from CTL and I would go do theater at another theater. I started directing at Penn College. I did some shows at Lock Haven University as well. So I did some position in most of the high schools of Lycoming County, sometimes hired as the director, sometimes hired as the music director. So throughout all of that, I got to know a heck of a lot of young people, a heck of a lot of high school age theater crazy people. And out of that grew the Act Up productions, which were these monstrous shows that we did at the Community Arts Center, selling, 4,000 seats over a weekend. And we did Les Mis, and we did West Side Story, and all those really big shows that a lot of high schools don't tackle for whatever reason. So that's kind of how it all evolved. It became, started out as music, and then eventually just the passion teach theater sort of came over and kind of takes over. And then as you get older, you kind of just want to run everything. So that's sort of me as I'm, middle-aged now, like I like being the decision maker and the guider, and like, where are we taking this and where are we going to go now? So that's what brought me to Schuylkill County, and here I am. So that's basically my journey.
There, out in the darkness, a fugitive running, fallen from God, fallen from grace. God be my witness, I never shall yield till we come face to face. Till we come face to face. He knows his way in the dark, but mine is the way of the Lord. And those who follow the path of the righteous shall have their reward. And if you fall as Lucifer fell, the flame, the sword, stars in your multitudes, scarce to be counted, filling the darkness with order and light. You are the sentinels, silent and sure, keeping watch in the night, keeping watch in the night. You know your place in the skies, you hold your course and your aim, and each of your seasons returns and returns, and is always the same. And if you fall as Lucifer fell, you fall in flame. And so it has been, and so it is written on the doorway to paradise, that those who falter and those who fall must pay the price. Lord, let me find him, that I may see him, safe behind bars. I will never rest till then. This I swear by the stars.
So art was just infused into your life before you really even knew what to think?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, my mom was like a church organist. There was always music in our house. I was I was the musical kid that could play every instrument in high school. I got out of class a lot because I could go down to the music room and take a lesson on some new instrument and stuff. So like I was like that really nerdy music kid. Piano is what I actually went to college for eventually, but up until I was 28, I had probably played 100 shows by that point, and I had never taken a piano lesson. So piano was just something that I picked up after I learned how to read the notes on the page. I'm like, oh, well, that's a C and that's a D, and we just put them all together and we get something that sounds like music. So then by the time I went to college, it was sort of, I was a little bit of a lost cause. I had a whole lot of bad music habits that they really tried to break me of. I can't say that they're completely broken. but I did learn a lot then. And I definitely developed my passion for theater while I was in college and starting to be more involved, even more involved in CTL than I already was. So I got here.
Yeah, I did not realize that you were a harpist.
Actually, that's my midlife crisis. A few years ago, like I've always wanted to learn, and people are like, oh, that'll be easy. You're a piano player, it is the hardest instrument I have ever tried to learn to play. It's counterintuitive the way you have to move your hands to make it all work. So a few years ago, I started taking lessons on it, and I do still do it. But when I went back to college for my master's degree, I kind of took a break from the lessons. And I finally, actually, in the pandemic, been able to get back to it. So, maybe in a year or so, I'll be able to like play something that sounds good. But let me tell you, it is the hardest instrument by far that I've ever played. So I highly recommend it. I love the sound of the harp. It's just, wow. I had no idea how difficult it was.
Yeah, I have no doubt. When I was in San Diego, managing mainly weddings, about 2/3 of the time it was weddings, but sometimes it was corporate functions and quinceañeras and whatever. Occasionally a harpist would be hired. And it was always the same 3 girls because there are only so many harpists out there.
Right.
But they get paid extremely well because there are only so many harpists out there.
That was my goal. That was going to be like my little side business. But I have a little ways to go before I can do weddings.
So because you are a musician, and your default or your favorite, I don't know how you would put it, instrument is the piano, yeah?
Yeah, kind of out of it. I mean, to listen to, no. I love the sound of an oboe, which only if it's played well, because you hear a lot of really bad oboe players, but a really well played oboe, like, finds every nerve ending, it just lights me up. But yeah, I mean, out of necessity, I play a lot of piano. Yeah, that's probably my main love. It's a love-hate at some point. Sometimes it's like I actually sing. Like I teach people to sing too. So I don't get to do that because everyone's like, oh, you play piano, like sit here. So like, all right, I'll play the piano. But no, I do love the piano a lot. It's the piano.
More than singing?
Yeah, probably a little bit more. I mean, I love to sing. I wish I could do more of it. But probably, yeah, I probably do like the piano a little bit more. It's actually, notice, I do like it more. I'm not gonna lie, because I actually pulled out the classical stuff during the pandemic here, which I haven't played for like 20 years. So I'm like, oh, I used to be able to play this Beethoven stuff really good. I don't know, it's a little rusty. So I kind of want to get back to where I was once good on that classical stuff.
Did you ever try drumming like what Celine does?
Oh my gosh, drumming is the worst. I cannot drum at all. It's like the paradiddle, like I can't not do it. And then when I watch a drummer with all parts of their body doing different things, just forget it. I'm in awe. Like, I love drummers. I think they're amazing. Some of my best friends are drummers, but yeah, I completely suck at the drums. It's terrible.
It's its own thing, right?
It is a different animal. It's like the harp in a way.
Well, every instrument is its own.
Very true.
Yeah.
Jacquie, what's your favorite song on piano? If you had to pick a favorite.
Favorite to play? Classically, there's a Ravel song. It's a Ravel tune. It's Pavane pour enfant défunt, which is Pavane for an infant princess. A Pavane is a death song tune that was written for a princess, so obviously she's dead. It's just the most heartbreaking tune. I think it's just very beautiful. I mean, I find myself out of love of theater playing, Broadway-ish stuff constantly. But my brain, truthfully, these days is kind of like a conveyor belt. I'm like a really good sight reader. So I can put anything down in front of me. I can play it in a second. But it's in and out. It's like in my brain and out. It's in my eyes, comes out my fingers, and it's gone. And people think, oh yeah, you know that, you did that show, you know that song, and I'll be like, yeah, I don't know that song anymore. Like, it's gone, it's out. But I enjoy that stuff. Like I do enjoy the Broadway stuff a lot. And I know like Isaac is a legit thespian, and he does like straight plays and stuff, and a really great straight play is awesome. But I've never really gotten goosebumps from a really great straight play. And when you go to a musical and the music overtakes you and you just feel it in your body, it's a different thing. So there's always that argument, straight play versus musical, and I will always fall on the musical side just quite a little bit, quite a lot actually. But
Yeah. So could we hear a little bit of your favorite piano song?
well, I have to go get the. I've not played that song in a long time. I don't want to play that. Are you recording this now?
Sure. Yeah. Of course I am.
I have to edit that part out. I mean that thing is like Beethoven. That's the symphony heptatique that I got out the other day, but I suck at it. Oh my god, I suck so bad.
Yeah. No pressure, but please do it.
Huh? Actually, I can get some Debussy stuff. I'll play that for you.
Give me something. Yeah.
All right. Are you gonna edit this out? We'll just all get. I have to go get it.
We'll see.
I have to go get the book. It's not in this room.
I will edit you walking out, but that's about it.
All right. Hold on.
Did you ever play
Yeah.
piano, Celine?
No, I played organ. I have a keyboard. I play a lot of keyboard instruments from percussion standpoint. So like I have a vibraphone at home and those kinds of things, and marimba and xylo and whatever else would come up, but not a pianist. I wouldn't classify myself as that.
What about the bass guitar, since a lot of guitarists think that the bass guitar is a percussion instrument?
They're part of the rhythm section. It's not a percussion instrument.
All right.
But,
I let them know that. That
yeah, you say, hey.
a professional drummer told me you don't know what's going on. All right. When did education become something you knew was really something you were meant for?
I mean, in the late 90s, when I started working with high schools and I decided, I really should go back to school for music because this is what I want to do. That's probably when it first germinated. But I think like as I started to work with high school students, like I developed the summer theater camp program at the theater where I worked. So I developed that, and that kind of grew. We would have like 220 some kids in a 5-week period. And then that grew into this Act Up productions that with the Community Arts Center. And those would be like 80 students from like 12 different high schools all around the area. So being able to work with like the best kids from every school. Was this amazing experience. And it kind of started as a joke. I was looking for a show for our summer theater camp, and Disney's High School Musical was like the hot thing. Everybody was doing it, you know, and it was sort of like, all right, we should do this little show, right? It'll be fine. But it was such a phenomenon when it first came out that everybody was doing it. So I went over to the Community Arts Center. I talked to Rob Steele, who was the guy in charge, and I said, all right, there's this show we should do. It is probably going to be too big for CTL. About doing this joint thing. And he was like on board right away. So we had all these kids. There were like 80 kids in this. We had this like budget. It was like a $50,000 budget. We got grants to do it. And it was being able to do a real like full scale production. You didn't have to cut corners on every little thing. And I remember crying, like watching the audience reaction, because it was packed. It was packed. And of course it was like little girls who like all love Troy Bolton. They're all like Disney fanatics, right? So the kid we had playing the lead in that was this gorgeous young guy who was this amazing singer. And he came down through the aisles to go into a scene in the second act. And you could watch all these little girls like, oh my God, he's coming. Oh my God. And I thought to myself, like, wow, like what an amazing thing for this young guy who really couldn't care less about these 5-year-old little girls. But to know like he had this amazing impact on these people that didn't know him from Adam, you know, an hour ago when the show started. So that's kind of when it really hit me. So like those shows really became my passion. And we ended up doing Les Mis, and we did West Side Story, and these gigantic productions that high schools often don't tackle because they're too big to do. And like I would marvel like myself at how amazing they were. The kids that were in Les Mis, I would say all of the leads in that show are now professional something in New York. Like couple are equity actors, a couple one writes musicals, and I have no doubt will one day have a show somewhere. There's several that are working actors, and one was just in the Radio City Christmas show for the second time. Like he's a principal vocalist. So like when I look back at those things and I think of like how impactful that time period was for all of them, like that's my thing. And I went to see the kid who was in he was in the Radio City show, and of course I'm crying because there's Caleb up there, and he's like, you know, one of the 5 principal singers. And I wrote this really sappy Thanksgiving post on Facebook about what an amazing time that was for me. And 120 kids replied to that, and I cry. I can't even read it these days because I cry. And they're like Jackie, you were so important to all of us, and you were the best time that we ever had, and you really impacted me. Like I can't even read it now. Even their parents would chime in at like what an amazing time this was for them. And I always say that I always tell people that when you do theater, especially in high school, it's the one thing you can do that prepares you for real life. And then people are like, well, that's ridiculous, like singing and dancing. I'm like, what does that mean? I'm like, but the confidence that it takes to do any of that stuff in front of 1,000 people is a skill you can't really get in anything else you do in high school. So those kids will go on to rule the world, I have no doubt, because of their theater experience. You know, they might be struggling actors for a while. They might do that. But if they don't go into acting and they're going to get a job in a business world, they're going to be the kids that are out there giving the presentations because they know how to speak in front of a group of people. And they're not going to be nervous when they're on a Zoom meeting, and they're not going to know how to lead those discussions. So like, I really feel that theater is transformative. I've watched kids that come to me in 6th grade who trip over their own feet and they're so shy. And then when they're a senior, they're like the lead tap dancer in their high school production with all this confidence and stuff. So I think that's what really got inside me, the education part, because I know how it transforms people, and I see it over and over again. And even someone like Isaac, you know, like, if, you know, some people don't get into theater until they're a little bit older in life, but then they discover it's like, oh my gosh, like this gets inside you and this creates who you are. And it's just an amazing thing to watch. And I love watching young people go through that transformation the most.
I'd like to know if you think you have an artistic vision, and then before we lose time, if you could talk about your new job and your new living situation in Schuylkill Haven.
Okay. My artistic vision is it is geared more toward education at this point in my life. Like, I'm not going to go out and star in a Broadway show at this point in my life. I do feel like my vision is to help other people see their vision. I guess that would be the best way. And that does kind of lead into what I'm doing too. I'm working in a place now which is visual arts. It's not theater. We have like 16 artist studios at the Walk-In Arts Center, and it's kind of an incubator place. It's where newer artists, they get a studio. We give them a space at a very inexpensive rent so that they can be in a community of artists and learn and develop who they are as an artist. And then hopefully they will be someone that can sell their work and actually make a living off of their art. So it's very similar in a way to what I did as a theater person. And I think that it's all the same thing. I mean, like a playwright and performers, they're trying to make you feel something, and visual artists are the same way. When you look at a painting or a sculpture, they want you to see what they're trying to see, or see what they might not have been trying to have you see. You see something else in it. So I think it's very similar. So I'm able to easily flip into that new world. And there will be some performing at the Walk-In Arts Center in the future. I think that was part of the reason why they wanted me, because I had all this performance background. So it's going to be more of a full-rounded performing arts center situation, all different arts and disciplines happening there. So that's where I am now.
So is that area, does it feel very, very different from where you were in Williamsport?
Not so much. I mean, in Williamsport, I was developing programs and still doing administrative stuff and all those kind of things. So that part's the same. Like, they never really had an education, a real full-blown education program. So that was a big thing that I'm working on. So provided the world opens up in the fall, hopefully we'll be able to get a start on that. So a lot of that is the same. I will probably end up doing some kind of theater education there at some point, but right now we're just kind of working with what they already have.
And are you creating anything right now?
Well, I've only been here for 2 months, so haven't really had a chance to do much of anything except get my feet under me. And then, of course, the world fell apart, so we're doing a lot of planning. But yes, I will. I love that they have a pottery studio there, and that's something that I've always wanted to get into. So that's in my future, I'm sure. I actually did dabble in painting in my past, so I'm getting back to that. I started this painting a long time ago, and then I found out that oil paintings take months to dry. I could never like finish the details on it, and it was taking forever. So I'm like, yay, I can finally finish that stuff. So I'm getting there, and discovering a part of myself that's been kind of dormant for a while. So I'm looking forward to that.
Thank you so much for giving us your time. It's great to see your face again.
Oh, thanks. Good to see you too. Nice to meet you, Celine.